Hello, my name is Reva, Bhalla, and today I'm joined by my colleague Lauren Goodrich to take stock of each of the main players in the ongoing U.S.-Russian standoff. So Lauren, on Friday, big day because we have at the Normandy ceremony for D-Day a number of heads of state coming together all at the same place at a very interesting geopolitical juncture. So we've got the heads of state from the United States, the UK, France, Germany, Ukraine, and Russia. Did I leave anyone off?
There's going to be quite a few other heads of state, but those are the main players, yes.
Okay, so let's get into the heads of each of these players. And starting with the United States, what is the message that Obama is bringing to Europe this week?
Well, Obama has been doing a tour. He started off in Poland and went to Brussels right after that before heading to France. The United States is launching what it's calling a reassurance campaign to reassure its allies throughout Europe that it still stands behind them.
And not exactly being subtle about it. Obviously, that is what the United States is doing. But as Obama said, these are not just words anymore. This is the most powerful military in history, in the world, coming to Europe in its defense.
Very much so. And so the United States in Poland signed what it called the European Reassurance Initiative, in which it will be U.S. troops going into Central Europe, U.S. equipment, and U.S. money going in. But what's interesting about that is that it's supposed to be a U.S. NATO reassurance campaign, but it's only the United States that's going to be sending money, only the United States that's sending troops. We're not seeing the Europeans really sign on board to this yet.
Yeah, and so if we turn our attention to France, which has been very interesting, I mean, they're the ones who actually extended the invitation to Putin to come, which caused quite a bit of controversy.
And Hollande, President Hollande himself said that he was going to continue to have that invitation to Putin even when other leaders asked him to rescind it.
And so with Hollande, he's in a very weak position right now, obviously, at home with the economic crisis. You have Marine Le Pen giving interviews to the German press saying that the European Union is an anti-democratic monster, that she's so glad that the world has returned to a multipolar world, and that, you know, basically endorsing Putin's moves in Europe.
And you also have former President Sarkozy in Russia on Monday meeting with Putin.
And so what exactly is Putin intending in that meeting with Sarkozy?
It seems like Russia is trying to plan ahead for what the next leadership in France is going to entail. So having the support of Le Pen, having the support of Sarkozy, so Russia can keep France as a friend.
Yeah, and so Russia basically has opportunity there with France and can take advantage of France's weakness to keep Europe divided. Germany as well is playing a very interesting balancing act.
Very much so. Germany all week has been balancing Russia, balancing the United States, balancing the other Europeans. It's where Angela Merkel has come out in rejecting Georgia's application for NATO membership, but at the same time is saying, yes, we are supporting Ukraine's association agreement membership with the European Union.
And so we've said as this U.S.-Russian confrontation builds up, it's really important to watch the Russian-German negotiation because Germany certainly doesn't want a major escalation with the Russians. They are important commercial ties to consider as well. But I think it's a question of whether Russia is actually going to accept whatever line Germany draws. So as you said, association agreements coming up in this summer for Ukraine, Georgia, and Moldova. But Germany willing to draw the red line on NATO integration, is that good enough for Russia?
Well, Russia in the past has said, no, the EU association agreement is the red line, but there has to be a compromise somewhere. It can't just be Germany folding to Russia because Russia knows that Germany has to keep its place as the leadership into Europe, and Russia needs Germany to continue to be the leadership inside of Europe. So Russia could possibly compromise on the EU agreements.
So let's look then at Ukraine, where Poroshenko is saying, yeah, I'm ready to sign. Let's do it. And Germany saying, well, let's give this a little bit more time. We want you to sign it. But they are negotiating still at the same time with the Russians. What do you think the Ukrainians are thinking?
Well, the Ukrainians know that they are not the decision makers in the room, that it's all these other leaders that are driving events in his country. And so for him, he needs to take stock of whose relationships are warmer and which are cooling down in the room at that time.
And Ukraine is already negotiating. They seem pretty close to an energy deal with the Russians. As we said, we didn't think that the Russians would cut off energy. They're ready for a compromise there. A lot of separatist activity taking place in the east, and Russia can maintain its levers there. But overall, I mean, this is going to be a long conflict in Ukraine itself. And I'm sure, he's looking for Western support, but he knows that he can't avoid dealing with Russia one way or another.
Very much so. And the Russians even came out today, and Putin said that he's willing to talk to Poroshenko this Friday. So the Russians are even willing to deal with the Ukrainians as well.
Okay. So then that leaves the last player in the room, Putin. So a big moment for Putin to be here in Normandy. What is the perception that he's trying to project?
That he still has friends. Having Putin come to Normandy and hold meetings with Hollande, Cameron, and Merkel shows the United States and shows Ukraine that Russia isn't isolated, that Russia still has friends and still has relationships it can use in this ongoing crisis.
And certainly he's going to have, a pretty good showing here at the Normandy event, and to show that he is still keeping up to par with all of these other world leaders. It doesn't matter if you cancel a G8 summit or anything else. He is still important enough to be dealt with, as the French have recognized, as the Germans have recognized. Now it's a question of whether the United States believes the same thing. I don't think we're going to see an Obama-Putin bilateral as such, but we know that this is a long confrontation building out between the U.S. and Russia, so more to come on that.
I agree.
All right. Well, thank you, Lauren, for taking the time today. Thank you all for joining us for this conversation. We'll see you next time.